Hi and welcome to the second part of this painting video. And now I'm starting to draw in with a little bit of the deep violet ink and a very small brush. And I'm just going to draw in a little few details here and there. And you know what, I have to correct myself. I said that purple that I painted just next to where I'm drawing right now is dioxane purple, but it's not. It's actually also the deep violet, but it's just the Liquitex basics version of it. And you can see actually the tube is just lying there on the right side bottom of my screen. But yeah, I'd like to just put a little bit of the ink on my palette and then just draw with it. You can see there the shininess of the ink. And that way I don't have to hold the little bottle with the potential of it just falling over. It's always an issue. And trust me, don't ask me how I know this. Just believe what I tell you. And then I'm just drawing a few details back. A top flower, I actually love how that looks. And then, you know, the process, right? So there's no rhyme or reason really to what I'm doing. It's just working everywhere and seeing that there is a balance that happens. And then what happens, I think the reason why I love to paint this way is because then all of a sudden everything just comes together. So maybe this is the one part where I use all the palettes at once, because there's a red palette, a purple palette, a green palette. Everything is on my desk, you know. But yeah, it's so that's the deep violet. It's not dioxane purple. Sorry about that. See, you have to watch all the videos to get the full picture, and then paint the painting. It's also very hard for me to explain why. Why would I paint such a dark color in the background, you know? And also the risk you take, because sometimes you love the process so much that you don't want to risk spoiling it by doing something else, you know? And the only thing I can say to that is this is where you truly grow as an artist, is when you do take those risks and make that that life-altering decision on your painting that might just like make it a complete mess versus a beautiful painting, right? So that's just, so I'm just going to paint the flower a little bit. The dimension wasn't quite right for me, so I'm just painting with a little brush, just painting in the background. You can see the difference that makes, hey, when just that little bit of a dark background behind the flower, it just pushes it forward. So I'm just looking at the paintbrushes sitting in the water next to my, painting, as you can see there. It just shows you that I do switch up my paintbrushes quite a bit. But one thing that I just want to tell you and remind you, and this is something that I learned very early on in university, is not let your paintbrushes sit inside of the water for too long. Maybe 10 or 15 or 20 minutes, and then just take them to the sink and rinse them. I love to wash my paintbrushes with a little bit of just dishwashing liquid, a little bit of warm water, and just rinse them really well and pat them dry with a paper towel. And then they're ready to go again. Because paintbrushes do have a shelf life, and that's why I don't buy extremely expensive paintbrushes, because guess what? I do forget them in water and then they're ruined. Or I let them sit in the water overnight and then they're ruined. Or paint dries on them and then they're ruined. So it's actually nice to just know that, you don't lose a whole bunch of money when one paintbrush is ruined. That's why I love the cheap paintbrushes. And I would much rather, like I said, have a quantity of paintbrushes than the quality. The only time where I do invest in good brushes is when I paint with watercolors, and I have a couple of watercolor brushes and I love them. Actually, the one that I'm painting with now is one of them, and I keep these in a separate container away from, the muck and mire of the usual paintbrushes. I actually decided that I just need a couple more flowers in there, so I'm just painting a couple more flowers in there, and it's just to fill in a little space. It just felt a little empty for me, and now I'm just painting a little bit of detail. I don't recommend that you paint straight out of your paint bottle. Here, like I'm doing, don't do it. Because if there's any kind of color on your paintbrush coming from the canvas, you'll put it back into the white bottle, and you don't want that. So rather just squeeze out a little bit of paint and just use it like that. So I love using just a paint dropper to paint with, but you have to squeeze very gently to get the paint out, and not too much, otherwise it will just all appear on your paint. Okay, what else did I want to say? Yeah, remember when you wash your paintbrushes and tighten your bottles, the lids, tighten the caps of the paint. And believe me when I tell you, there's a reason why I'm reminding you. It's because I have come to paint a few times and then the paint dried because I did not tighten the bottles or did not tighten the lids on the tubes. The other thing that I love about the Liquitex Heavy Body acrylic paints is I actually love the tubing that it comes into. You can squeeze the last little bit of ink out of the plastic tubes, where with the golden paint, which is also very good quality paint, the tubes are made of I don't know, it's metal. It feels like metal, and it just squeezes hard. So I love the plastic tubing, but that's just a very, very personal preference. Okay, so now I'm painting in with this beautiful little light aqua color, and I'm just painting in a little flower, and I just wanted to cover that. It felt like an empty space, so So talking about, painting in details is also a very interesting conversation, because it does feel a lot like art journaling when I do it. And I think that's where I learned it, is when I art journaled, is the glorious joy of doodling. And so, in a way, these paintings can be called art journaling paintings, right? But they're paintings in their own right. And honestly, if you paint a painting like this and you hang it on your wall, you know what? It will just bring you so much joy. But the origins of it is out of art journaling for me, especially just painting back the details. I love the details, and I do think it's a way of really making every inch of your painting so interesting, right? And let the happy markings happen, but also then make those very purposeful markings as well. And sometimes, you still can't determine the outcome. It just looks very beautiful, or it looks terrible. So it takes practice. That's actually what I want to say. And just note to self, when you do something and it does look terrible, just let it dry and paint white over it. Use titanium white. It just blocks everything out, and just carry on. I often think of these paintings as well as just like fancy coloring pages. But what, you do have to have a little bit of knowledge about the medium that you use for it to become, and that's what makes it a painting. Everything starts with, a drawing. And a lot of times when you look at artists and the history of art, the drawings almost becomes artworks in themselves. I mean, a lot of Monet's drawings that he did of the gardens, and Picasso's drawings, made it into art galleries, So maybe we should think of these paintings as drawings and studies, or pre-studies into, works that we are still going to make. And with every painting that you do, your muscles develop that memory about how, just regarding to how tight to grip the paintbrush, how to do the lines so that there's a variety of width and texture. It just how to apply the impasto paint. It's all things that if you've never painted, you've never experienced that, you don't know how to do it. And that is just why you need to practice and carry on and work and just try. And I promise you, it will come to pass. It will come together at some point. But there's always a point where I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is the biggest mess I've ever painted, or I hate it. And then I'll do one little thing like paint the background in, and then all of a sudden I'll just start loving it, So it's just so interesting how the painting develops, and how, you never know. So again, my message is just work. Just keep on painting and trying and making the mistakes, and you'll see the difference it will happen for you is when you least expect it. Hey, but who knows? Maybe you get it right from the get-go. Maybe my instructions is that good. No, it's not. But anyway, Okay, so I'm just enjoying myself on this painting, with the narration too, and the drawing. And I actually love it. The one thing that I do have when you video your paintings is the luxury of hindsight, right? So I'm almost convinced that I like this stage of the painting more than the final stage. But you know what? It is what it is, and it's a good exercise in creativity. So mixing this green is a brilliant example of how opaque titanium white is and how you can actually get away with a very little bit of titanium white. But also it shows you how potent the inks are, right? So you can very easily just add too much pigment to your titanium white, and then the color is not quite as dark as you want it. So I'm just painting the white parts of my painting with this beautiful light green. And I love the finished look of doing this. Traditionally, this is where I would like write words, you know, so again, almost like an art journaling, where you have that space where you can write your journaling on. I sometimes do write words on my paintings, and I call them psalm paintings because I love the psalms and I love to write the psalms on my paintings. But I decided not to do it for this class. Maybe in the next class I will. You can write anything on there. You can write a poem, you can write lyrics to a song. I did a commission for a family that wanted a painting for their mum, and I wrote her favorite song lyrics on there. So that was very special. So, you know what? But I love the bouquet of flowers that just rains down, you know. It's almost like an arch that you can walk through. You can also flip the painting around so that the flowers look up and not down. So it's totally, you know, however you want to paint it. It's up to you. I thoroughly enjoyed the process of this video. I think maybe mostly because there wasn't any missing links, you know. And now I'm just going to use a little bit of Prussian blue, and I just want to get even darker in between, you know, and even with a little bit of impasto, I'm just going to paint a little bit of, and that's maybe what gives this painting the mood, is this very dark Prussian blue that I'm painting in behind the leaves. So blending acrylic paint is amazing, and one of the I think it's the next painting we're going to make. I'll show you a little bit more of the technique of blending. And blending is when the paint is wet and you blend it from one color to another, and acrylic paint is phenomenal for blending, you know. So it's really nice to blend acrylic paint and easy to do, and I'll show you how to do that. In the meantime, you can just glance to your left and you can see that I did clean up my brushes and my water, and yeah, so this painting is done. Thank you so much for watching with me. I really appreciate it, and the next painting is going to be a vase painting again, and I'm very excited to show it to you. Okay, I'll see you then. Bye.